This is a confirmation hearing for Marco Rubio. He is now going to be the Secretary of State, replacing Anthony Blinken, or Bloody Blinken. And he wanted to make sure that he would please the committee that he was answering to, so that his position as Secretary of State will be very solid. Let's take a listen at this particular comment that really shocked everybody. Take a listen.
Look, as you know, we've got real problems there. The court originally was intended, at least from our point of view, to be a court that focused on international crimes that were committed by people from countries who did not have a robust democracy nor a robust judicial system that held its own people accountable for crimes. The court's gone beyond that, obviously. They are not only focusing on people who aren't accountable elsewhere, but they're also focusing on people who come from countries that solve their own problems, like the United States of America and like Israel. The most recent...
what kind of a lame statement that is coming from this senator? International Criminal Court was established just to catch those poor criminals, like criminals. When I say poor, I mean coming from poor country. Unbelievable. I mean, so when you are a criminal in a rich country, in a developed nation, then you will not be held accountable by ICC. I mean, this is how pathetic, and what kind of statement that is. I mean, these guys, they don't really know how justice works, and this is why there is no justice even in the States. There's absolutely no justice.
Recent obvious thing that flowed from that was the indictment on the same day of Netanyahu plus a Hamas character. Any court that is a court of law has to be able to recognize good from bad. And when you try to indict two people and show some type of moral equivalency in that regard, they're just barking up the wrong tree. And I think, unfortunately, we're going to have to rein them up. Your thoughts?
So basically, before I will play his thought on this, obviously that will be very, very moronic too. But when the ICC issued arrest warrant for Vladimir Putin, did they ask Anthony Blinken, then Secretary of State, this question? Of course not. He did never ask him or question him about ICC's jurisdiction. What was happening? Was it legit that ICC would be issuing arrest warrants against Putin? None of those questions were raised. But now it is because against the beloved Netanyahu, their beloved friend, they have big qualms about this, and they want to make sure that Marco Rubio understands this before going into office with Donald Trump. Let's see what he has to say
on that.
Well, I think the ICC has done tremendous damage to its global credibility. First of all, it is going after a non-member state on the claims that I believe, in fact, I think just in the last 24 hours, the Israeli High Court filed an appeal before the ICC, even though it's not a member state. And I saw some of the filings from the prosecutor. Mr. Khan was involved in that process. And he argues that they have the right to go after non-members for their activities within the confines of member states in this case. And I think, first of all, the whole premise of his prosecution is flawed, beyond the process of it and the precedent that it sets, which is a very dangerous precedent for the United States of America, by the way, because this is a test run. This is a trial run to see, can we go after a head of state from a nation that's not a member? If we can go after them and we can get it done with regards to Israel, they will apply that to the United States at some point. And in fact, there have been threats to do so in the past. But the premise of the prosecution itself is completely and utterly flawed. As you said, they went ahead, I think they also went after Sinwar. Well, number one, Sinwar didn't travel around the world. He's not with us any longer. But he didn't travel around the world, was at no risk of being apprehended. Second of all, the moral equivalency piece of it was offensive. Let me explain, and I think I don't need to explain to this committee. Hamas carried out an atrocious operation. They sent a bunch of savages into Israel with the express and explicit purpose of targeting civilians. They went into concerts. They went into these music festivals. They knew that there were no soldiers at the music festival. They knew that these were teenagers and young families that they went into this.
So what is your point? What is Marco Rubio's point here? He's pointing finger at Hamas, like they should be prosecuted under ICC. Well, that's exactly what they're doing. ICC is holding responsible those Hamas leaders that you have killed, that you have murdered with your friend Israel, Netanyahu. What is your point? Yes, Hamas is okay if you want to arrest them. I mean, they are terrorists, right? That's what you have labeled them with. Now you want to catch them, no problem. Nobody seems to have any problem with this ICC ruling against Hamas members or against Vladimir Putin. But the moment ICC picks on a Zionist state of Israel, in this case Netanyahu, everybody starts talking about its credibility. He said, Marco Rubio said, they have damaged their worldwide credibility. ICC, they have damaged it. Well, Marco Rubio, that's what the ICC is trying to fix. It is true that they have damaged their reputation, their credibility, by not acting on arresting Netanyahu faster. Because for Putin, it took only a week or two, but for Netanyahu, it took more than 6 months for ICC. So yeah, in that case, we do not have 100% trust on ICC. His problem is now, well, ICC could even go after us. We in the United States could be under sanction. We could be arrested. Well, that's exactly what the ICC should be doing. They should be arresting Anthony Blinken. And if you come to power, when you do, and you do something what Anthony Blinken did, you should also be on the watch list. What is international accountability? If you think your country has power, money, dollar, and then you can get away with it, that's not justice. That's not a justice system. And he's talking about those Rome Statute, okay? And that he said, Israel is not a member. Well, Russia was not a member, but they still issued arrest warrant against Vladimir Putin. So why there is this double standard? I mean, would you say to ICC, hey, drop your charges against Vladimir Putin? He's not going to do that. But for Netanyahu, they're not member state. Let them go off the hook. This is absolute clear hypocrisy.
Different communities and the kibbutzes and the like, and they deliberately targeted civilians. Deliberately. In fact, they kidnapped the ones they didn't murder, the families who they didn't eviscerate, the people whose skulls they didn't crack open. They kidnapped, and to this day continue to hold people, innocents that they took, a deliberate operation. In the case of Israel, responding to that attack has had to go after Hamas. How can you coexist? How can any nation state on the planet coexist side by side with a group of savages like Hamas? They have to defend their national security and their national interest, as I pointed out in my opening statement. And so there is
everything is wrong about his argument. It falls apart any time anybody who would be defending Zionist state by using October 7th as the premise of their argument will automatically, by default, will fail the whole argument. It will just fall apart because nothing started on October 7th, as Piers Morgan tend to believe. Nothing started on that day. It is all started in 1947, 1948, when they kicked those Palestinians out of their homes and occupied their land. Even under the UN law resolution, Israel is an occupation force. And New York hosts United Nations. So they don't really respect UN resolution, but they have it in their country for what? So, I mean, this whole argument that it all started October 7th is just so fake, and it doesn't hold any ground.
And they didn't target civilians. Now, sadly and unfortunately, and I'm sure we'll discuss it further, some of the other questions that will come up here today, one of the horrible things about war, it's a terrible thing about war, and it's why we should try to prevent it at almost any cost, is that innocent people are caught up in it. And that's true of every conflict on the planet. But there is a difference between those who, in the conduct of armed action, deliberately target civilians, and those who do as much as they can to avoid civilians being caught up against an enemy that doesn't wear a uniform, against an enemy that hides in tunnels, against an enemy that hides behind women and children and puts them at the forefront and uses them as human shields.
Okay, that is absolute bogus nonsense, because what he's saying here is that Israel did not want to kill or try their best to avoid killing innocent civilians in Gaza. That's what his argument is. On the other hand, Hamas is so bad they target civilians intentionally. But only yesterday, Joe Biden said he spoke to Netanyahu and he told Netanyahu, do not carpet bomb these people. So who to believe? Who to believe? Nobody. from Biden administration, from Donald Trump administration, especially people like Marco Rubio, we cannot trust you guys. You cannot ever, because you are contradicting yourselves. We know everything about you, and that is that you guys are a bunch of hypocrites, pro-Zionists, anti-life.
That's who Hamas is. There is no moral equivalency, and I think the ICC, if they don't drop this, will find its credibility globally badly damaged.
Yeah.
And I think the United States should be very concerned, because I believe this is a test run for applying it to American service member and American leaders in the future.
Of course, it will be tried on you, and we should actually go out and protest and ask ICC to hold him accountable next, and Anthony Blinken accountable. Because this is what we need to do, and he's so terrified of that outcome that United States will be humiliated just like Israel and the government, Netanyahu and Yoav Gallant, were humiliated, and the Israeli soldiers, wherever they go, they run like this, they're scampering like rats, bunch of rats. They go to Brazil, they get this lawsuit. They go to Argentina, same thing. They go to Thailand, Sri Lanka, everywhere they go. If they are identified as Zionist troops, they face legal issues in any country. So Marco Rubio, I think he's saying the right thing, which is that ICC, they might come after us, and we are here to make sure that happens, that there is accountability everywhere. Thank you so much for joining. If you have any comments, agree with me, disagree with me, let me know in the comment section below. I'll see you in the next video.